Alright, we're here to do a instructional video on how to take apart the front end of the Alpine 110. As you can see, everything's just sitting together at the moment because everything's disassembled. So I'll show you how to take apart the front end, take away all the plastic here, take out the front case. That'll give you access to some parts of the radiator, the whole front bumper as well. So you get full access to the radiator and all the sort of supports and everything underneath. Alright, so the first thing that we do is to remove this part of the plastic. You'll leverage on the back, so you pull the back up, you'll hear it click up, so you go all the way across, and then that should lift out. If we look on the back, you've got these little metal clips, and that's what it's using to hold in place. You've got one on the corner, one off center, another off center, and one on the other end. And they're clipping into that one there, there, and on the end. The next thing that we need to do is to remove this plastic here and also that little section there. So the same thing applies. You actually need to, there's a screw, 1, 2, 3 small Torx screws on either side, and then that will lift up. You can start to unclip that, lift that up and slide that out. You can see that there is 1, 2, and 3 plastic clips. So undo the screws, lift it up from the back to the front and slide that out. You then need to do the same on this side. So 1, 2, 3 Torx screws, then start to lift that up around the shock tower. That'll pop up and you'll slide that off. Alright, so we can now start to get access to a few things. The next bit is to get the center storage unit out. Simple, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bolts. Undo those and that just lifts straight up. One other thing I did forget to mention, with the large plastic tray there is a light. That's the small connector. You just push that in when you're removing that. And out she comes. So now we can start to see a few things. As you can see, we've got the battery here. If you need to replace the battery, undo that Torx, undo your 2 terminals. Out the battery comes, in the battery goes. Disassembly is obviously the opposite of assembly. Now, there is some access to the radiator you can get at the moment. If you undo that bolt there, that bolt there. Now, if you look down the side, there are some plastic clips down there that you could be able to get access to. You could very, very carefully so you can see there's one down there, there's another one down there. You could very carefully get a flathead screwdriver, loosen those clips up, and then you could actually lift this up, get about 2 inches of space underneath the radiator. The radiator fins are extremely soft and very, very thin. Obviously, it's lightweight, no doubt. So if you were to stick something down there and try and vacuum and move around, you're going to bend all of these fins. These fins are incredibly fragile. I would not recommend doing that. So the next thing you want to do is to remove the front plastic guard. Now, to do that, you're going to have to jack up the car on the jacking point. You're then going to have to remove the inner guards in front of the wheel. Refer to my video about how to do that on the 3D printed grills. It'll show you how to remove the entire plastic guard that sits in front of the wheel. There's a few plastic clips, some Torx in different places, also some Torx at the bottom there, and the whole front guard will slide out. So that's what the guard looks like. We've got 1, 2, 3 Torx at the bottom. There's another Torx at the side, one at the top there, and also another one at the very, very top. So that sits in there. So you need to take that out, which will get access to some things behind here. So remove both wheel arch guards from each side, and then we can get to the plastic. All right, so this is the really tricky part. As you can see, this guard has a few tabs on top, and it actually clips in between the white plastic and the aluminium body guard there. So when we're dealing with anything that is plastic, try to get the plastic as warm as possible so it's a little bit more flexible. If it's cold, it's brittle, it can snap. There could be a better way of doing this, but inside here, after you've got access to everything underneath, there will be a rivet here, and there is a rivet here. Those two are tri-wing rivets. There's also one up the very top there. You can leave that. You need to cut this rivet, cut that rivet there. Once you cut both of those rivets, that would be the torch. Once you cut both of those rivets, there's a little bit of play in this plastic bit. You can start to push that through, but that'll help get that plastic a little bit loose. Push those two. If you can push these two tabs together and drop that plastic down a little bit. Okay, we can see that that can now move because the rivets have been removed. You've got a little bit of movement, so what you need to do is to start to lift in a circular motion and start to lift this out. You'll get the first tab out, then the second, then the third. Bit by bit, just wiggle it out bit by bit, and it'll pop off like that. There's also some bolts. You need to make sure you're undoing the bolts all the way along the front of this guard. As I said, that'll lift and pop out. You can see inside of there, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 little tabs. You could potentially be able to get access and push these tabs down from the inside. I doubt it. This white plastic is extremely brittle. You do need that movement to lower it away from the body. You will need to replace those 3 rivets as well. So with the Grille, you need to undo all the bolts all the way along here. That'll remove everything from the bottom. You've got your number plate holder. That's not secured very well. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts. That's a rivet, the same as that is a rivet. You need to drill those 2 rivets out, and those rivets are just going into the plastic. Again, they're a tri-wing type of rivet that flexes and mushes out. So once you've got all of the bottom fasteners done, you've got the 2 ends done. There is a screw up here, a small torque screw up here. You can undo the torque screws at the top and start to wiggle this forward a little bit. Undo all your bottoms, undo your sides. Then this should come straight off. All right, so now we can see the front end. There's a little bit of polystyrene foam here. There's a bit of polystyrene foam here as well. Now we took away the 2 bolts up the top here for this cover. If we look below here, you can see same again. There's 1 bolt there. There's another bolt here, 3 bolts. When you undo those 3 bolts, this whole piece of plastic will come out. So I'll do that now. So we've got the large plastic air scoop that comes in. You'll need to push it down in the middle to get from underneath that. Then that will come out. Each of the side scoops for the smaller front radiators, there's 2 bolts at the top, 1 at the bottom. That whole piece will come out. That will get you access to each of the side radiators. You can now see that we have full access to the main radiator as well. In terms of the front for support, there is the structural bar here with those 3 bolts. I think there was one person that wanted to bolt something or other to the car in terms of lights, additional lights, there's a good support. So you've got your 3 bolt holes there with a nice thick rail. They line up with your 3 bolt holes there. Work out your own solution for that. Don't forget you've got your number plate holder in the middle as well. So there we are. That is the disassembly guide to getting the front of everything off. The installation is the reverse of the assembly. You want to put your scoop in, all your little foam bits and pieces, your main front guard, and then the wheel arches. So you could see there was that little rivet there that we'd have to go back and repair in there. Fix that up. So put a rivet in there. There's one rivet from the bottom as well. You can't really screw that in and out because you need to get access to it from behind. So there's not really a good solution for that. If there is, let me know. So that's what one of the little rivets look like. That's it there. So you put in the main guards, you clip all of this back in place, push it up, that'll be riveted, be able to slide that in. And then yeah, put the rest of the inside back in. You want your main big square space, your 2 sides, and then the top piece of plastic as well. So there you go, enjoy and happy driving.